I spent my entire life protecting my heart until one woman walked into my world and made me question everything I believed about love. Olivia Carter had always been certain that emotions were something to manage, not something to follow. At 32 years old, she had built a successful career as an architect in Seattle, Washington, creating beautiful spaces where people gathered, celebrated, and created memories. Yet behind every impressive project and professional achievement was a quiet truth she rarely admitted. Olivia had become very good at building places for people while forgetting how to build a life that truly made her happy. Her days followed a predictable rhythm. Early mornings began with coffee from her favorite neighborhood cafe, followed by hours reviewing designs, meeting clients, and solving complex challenges inside her downtown architecture office. Her coworkers admired her focus and discipline, often describing her as someone who always knew exactly what she wanted. But they never saw the moments when she sat alone in her apartment, looking out over the city lights and wondering why success still felt incomplete. Olivia believed she understood herself. She believed independence meant never needing anyone else to feel fulfilled. Love, in her opinion, was beautiful for other people, but too unpredictable for someone who had spent years carefully planning every step of her future. That belief remained unchanged until the afternoon she attended a small art exhibition near the waterfront. She had only gone because a client wanted her opinion about the design of the gallery space. Olivia expected to spend 20 minutes there before returning to work. She never expected to meet someone who would completely change the way she viewed her own heart. Among dozens of photographs displayed on the gallery walls, one collection immediately caught her attention. The images showed ordinary moments transformed into something meaningful. A quiet street after rainfall, sunlight passing through an old bookstore window, people sharing conversations in places most visitors would walk past without noticing. The photographer behind the collection was a woman named Madison Reed. Olivia first saw her standing near one of the photographs, explaining the story behind the image to a small group of visitors. Madison was 30 years old, with a calm presence and a natural warmth that made people feel comfortable around her. She carried a camera over one shoulder and spoke about life, as if every moment contained a hidden story waiting to be discovered. When Olivia finally approached the exhibition display, Madison noticed her studying one particular photograph. "That one seems to make people stop longer than the others," Madison said with a gentle smile. Olivia looked at the image again and admitted that she understood why. She explained that the photograph felt peaceful, even though it captured such a simple moment. Madison replied that sometimes the simplest moments were the ones people remembered the longest. The conversation lasted only a few minutes, but something about it stayed with Olivia long after she left the gallery. She could not explain why a brief conversation with a stranger felt different from every interaction she had experienced before. Madison did not try to impress her, challenge her, or change her perspective. She simply saw the world differently, and somehow that made Olivia curious. Over the following days, Olivia found herself thinking about that conversation more often than she expected. She wondered why a person she barely knew had created such a lasting impression. For the first time in years, Olivia felt a small crack appear in the carefully constructed walls around her emotions. She did not know it yet, but meeting Madison was the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything she thought she understood about love, trust, and the possibility of opening her heart. After the afternoon at the waterfront gallery, Olivia tried to return to her normal routine, but something felt different. She still arrived at her office before everyone else, still reviewed architectural plans with the same attention to detail, and still handled every responsibility with the same confidence her colleagues admired. Yet small moments throughout the day reminded her of the conversation with Madison. A photograph of a quiet street, a stranger smiling at a cafe, or sunlight reflecting through a window could suddenly bring her thoughts back to the woman who saw beauty in ordinary things. Olivia found herself surprised by how much she remembered. She remembered Madison's calm voice, the way she described photographs as stories instead of images, and the way she made simple moments sound meaningful. It was unusual for Olivia to think about someone she had only met once. She normally believed first impressions were temporary, but this one stayed with her. A week later, Olivia returned to the gallery, telling herself it was only because she wanted to see more of the photographer's work. She knew that explanation was not entirely honest, but she did not want to admit that curiosity was slowly becoming something stronger. When she entered the gallery, she noticed Madison arranging photographs for a new display near the back wall. Madison looked up and immediately recognized her. A warm smile appeared on her face, and Olivia felt an unexpected sense of comfort. "I was wondering if you would come back," Madison said. Olivia smiled and admitted that she wanted to see the rest of the collection. They spent the next hour walking through the exhibition together. Madison explained the stories behind her photographs, sharing memories of small towns, quiet neighborhoods, and people who had unknowingly created beautiful moments. Olivia listened carefully, realizing that Madison's talent was not only about taking pictures. It was about paying attention to life in a way Olivia had forgotten how to do. As they talked, Madison asked Olivia about her work. Olivia described designing buildings and creating spaces where people could feel connected. Madison smiled and pointed out something interesting. She said Olivia and she were not as different as they seemed. They both wanted to create places where people could experience meaningful moments. The observation surprised Olivia because she had always separated her professional world from her personal life. Madison seemed to understand that the two were connected. Before leaving, Madison invited Olivia to visit a small photography walk. She planned to organize the following weekend. It was not a formal event, just a morning spent exploring parts of the city that most people ignored. Olivia almost declined out of habit. Her schedule was already filled with meetings and deadlines. But something inside her hesitated. For years, she had always chosen responsibility over curiosity. This time, she decided to make a different choice. She accepted the invitation. The following Saturday morning, Olivia arrived at a quiet neighborhood park where Madison was waiting with her camera. The streets were peaceful, the weather was clear, and the city looked completely different from the way Olivia usually experienced it. Instead of rushing between appointments, she slowed down and noticed details she had ignored for years. Madison showed her how a simple shadow, a colorful doorway, or a person's expression could tell a story. By the end of the morning, Olivia realized she had spent several hours without thinking about work, deadlines, or expectations. She had simply enjoyed being present. As they walked back toward the park entrance, Madison thanked her for joining the walk. Olivia thanked Madison for showing her a different way of seeing the world. Neither woman knew exactly where this new connection would lead, but for the first time in a long while, Olivia was not trying to predict the future. She was allowing herself to experience the moment in front of her. In the weeks that followed, Olivia and Madison slowly became part of each other's routines. What started as occasional conversations after the photography walk gradually turned into moments they both looked forward to. They discovered small cafes hidden between downtown buildings, explored quiet corners of the city, and shared stories about their lives that they rarely told other people. Olivia noticed something changing inside her. She was still ambitious, still dedicated to her career, and still someone who valued independence. But for the first time, she no longer saw those things as reasons to keep everyone at a distance. Madison never asked Olivia to become someone different. Instead, she encouraged her to understand herself more deeply. One evening, while sitting at a small coffee shop overlooking the waterfront, Madison asked Olivia what had inspired her to become an architect. The question seemed simple, but Olivia realized she had not thought about the answer in years. She explained that when she was younger, she loved drawing places where people could gather, share experiences, and feel connected. She wanted to create environments that made people feel like they belonged. Over time, however, her focus shifted toward deadlines, achievements, and proving that she was capable of handling everything alone. Madison listened carefully before saying that perhaps Olivia had not lost her original dream. Maybe she had only forgotten the reason it mattered. Those words stayed with Olivia long after they left the cafe. She began thinking about how much of her life had been built around expectations rather than genuine happiness. Meanwhile, Madison shared more about her own journey. She explained that photography had become her way of understanding the world. When she was younger, she often felt like she noticed things differently from everyone around her. While others rushed through life, she found herself paying attention to small details, quiet expressions, and moments that would disappear quickly. Photography allowed her to preserve those moments and remind people that beauty existed everywhere. Olivia admired that quality about her. Madison did not simply look at the world. She truly observed it. Their conversations became longer, and the silence between them became more comfortable. Olivia found herself laughing more often, something her coworkers had rarely seen before. She began leaving the office earlier when possible, taking walks without a specific destination, and allowing herself to enjoy moments without needing a reason or a goal. One Friday afternoon, Olivia invited Madison to visit a new building project she had designed. She wanted to show Madison the space because she believed the photographer would notice things others missed. As they walked through the unfinished building, Madison looked around with curiosity and appreciation. She pointed out how the natural light entered through the windows and how the layout encouraged people to interact. Olivia smiled because those were exactly the details she had hoped people would experience. For the first time, she saw her own work through someone else's eyes. Later that evening, they stood outside the building watching the city lights appear across the skyline. Madison told Olivia that she admired how much care she put into creating spaces for others. Olivia admitted that Madison had helped her remember why she loved her work in the first place. The moment between them felt different from before. It was not only about curiosity anymore. It was about understanding. As Olivia returned home that night, she realized Madison had quietly become someone important in her life. She still did not know where their connection would lead, but she knew one thing had changed. The heart she had spent years protecting was no longer completely closed. The weeks passed, and Olivia began to notice that her life was changing in ways she never expected. Nothing dramatic happened overnight. There was no single moment when everything became clear. Instead, the change appeared through small, meaningful moments that slowly transformed the way she saw herself. She started enjoying conversations that had nothing to do with deadlines or professional responsibilities. She found herself looking forward to Madison's messages, wondering what new story the photographer would share or what simple moment she had captured through her camera. For someone who had always believed emotions needed to be carefully controlled, Olivia was surprised by how natural it felt to let someone become part of her everyday life. Madison never rushed her or asked for promises. She simply remained present, showing Olivia that connection could grow through patience and understanding. One Saturday afternoon, Madison invited Olivia to visit a small coastal town outside Seattle where she planned to photograph the old harbor and surrounding landscapes. Olivia almost declined because of a major project deadline approaching the following week. Her first instinct was to choose work, just as she had done countless times before. But then she remembered something. Madison once told her, life was not only about the moments people planned. Sometimes the most meaningful memories came from the moments they allowed themselves to experience. Olivia decided to go. The drive along the coastline gave them hours to talk about their dreams, childhood memories, and the choices that shaped who they had become. Olivia shared that she had always felt responsible for being the person others could depend on. She rarely admitted when she felt uncertain because she believed strength meant having all the answers. Madison listened quietly before telling her that strength was not about never needing support. Sometimes strength came from allowing someone else to understand you. Those words touched Olivia more than she expected. Throughout the day, Madison photographed the harbor, the waves, and the small details of the town. Olivia watched her work and noticed how much care she put into every image. Madison did not just capture what something looked like. She captured what it felt like. As the afternoon sunlight covered the town in warm colors, Madison took a photograph of Olivia standing near the water. Olivia laughed and told her she was not used to being the person in front of the camera. Madison smiled and explained that everyone deserved to be remembered in moments when they were truly themselves. That evening, they sat near the harbor watching the sunset. The conversation became quieter, but neither of them felt uncomfortable. Olivia realized that with Madison, silence did not feel empty. It felt peaceful. She had spent years surrounding herself with achievements, schedules, and responsibilities, Yet this simple moment felt more meaningful than many of her greatest professional successes. When they returned to Seattle, Olivia carried more than memories from the trip. She carried a new understanding of herself. Madison had not changed who she was. Instead, Madison had helped her reconnect with the parts of herself she had ignored for too long. For the first time, Olivia wondered if opening her heart was not a risk, but an opportunity. She still did not have all the answers, but she no longer felt the need to avoid the questions. Somewhere along the way, Madison had become more than someone she enjoyed spending time with. She had become someone Olivia trusted, someone who made the world feel a little brighter, and someone who quietly began changing everything Olivia thought she knew about herself. For the first time in years, Olivia noticed that the person she was becoming felt closer to the person she had always wanted to be. She still arrived at her architecture office early every morning, still managed important projects, and still carried the same determination that had built her career. But something inside her had shifted. She no longer measured every day only by completed tasks and professional achievements. She had started noticing the small moments that made life meaningful, and she knew Madison was the reason she had begun seeing the world differently. Madison had never tried to change Olivia. She never told her to slow down or become someone else. Instead, she showed Olivia that a person could be ambitious and still allow room for connection, happiness, and unexpected emotions. That realization was both comforting and frightening. Olivia had spent so much time creating a life where she depended only on herself that trusting someone new felt unfamiliar. One evening, after a long day at the office, Olivia met Madison at a quiet cafe near the waterfront. The city lights reflected across the water, and the peaceful atmosphere gave them space to talk about things they rarely shared with others. Madison asked Olivia if she had ever imagined her life would turn out differently. Olivia thought about the question carefully. She admitted that when she was younger, she imagined success would bring complete happiness. She believed that if she worked hard enough and achieved enough, she would eventually feel satisfied. But she had discovered that accomplishment alone could not replace genuine connection. Madison smiled and shared that she understood that feeling. She explained that many people spend years searching for the perfect future while forgetting to appreciate the present they already have. Their conversation stayed with Olivia long after they left the cafe. She realized Madison had become someone whose opinions mattered to her, someone whose happiness made her happy, and someone whose presence had become a natural part of her life. However, this new feeling also created uncertainty. Olivia began questioning whether she was ready to let someone truly know her. She worried that opening her heart meant becoming vulnerable in a way she had avoided for years. The next morning, Olivia stood inside her apartment looking at the city outside her window. She remembered all the times she had chosen the safest path, the most practical decision, and the option that created the least uncertainty. Those choices had helped her succeed, but she wondered if they had also prevented her from experiencing something deeper. Later that week, Madison invited Olivia to a photography exhibition where several of her newest works would be displayed. Olivia attended and watched visitors react to Madison's photographs. She saw how people connected with the images and understood why Madison was so passionate about capturing emotions. After the exhibition ended, Madison thanked Olivia for coming. Olivia told her that she admired the way Madison could find meaning in ordinary moments. Madison replied that she believed everyone had stories worth noticing, including Olivia. Those words stayed in Olivia's mind. She had spent years designing spaces for other people to feel at home, but Madison was helping her discover how to feel at home within herself. As they walked through the city that evening, Olivia realized her feelings were no longer just curiosity. Madison had become someone special. The question was no longer whether her heart was changing. The question was whether she was brave enough to accept it. Olivia spent the next few days trying to understand the changes happening inside her. She had always been someone who trusted logic, planning, and preparation. Every important decision in her life had been carefully considered before she took action. But Madison had introduced something Olivia could not measure with schedules or calculations. She had introduced a feeling of possibility. For the first time, Olivia was not simply thinking about what her future should look like. She was wondering what her future could feel like. Despite that realization, a quiet fear remained. Olivia worried that allowing someone into her life meant giving up the independence she had worked so hard to build. She had spent years proving that she could handle challenges alone, and the idea of depending on another person felt unfamiliar. Madison noticed the hesitation but never pushed Olivia for answers. She understood that trust was something built slowly, through patience and honesty. One afternoon, Olivia received an exciting opportunity at her architecture firm. A major project in another city had become available, and the position would represent a significant step forward in her career. Her colleagues immediately encouraged her to accept it. It was exactly the kind of opportunity Olivia had worked toward for years. Yet when she thought about leaving Seattle, her first thought was not about the professional possibilities. Her first thought was Madison. That surprised her more than anything else. Olivia spent the evening walking through the city, reflecting on the choices she had made throughout her life. She realized that she had always believed success required sacrifice. She had accepted missed opportunities with friends, quiet evenings alone, and moments she never allowed herself to enjoy because she thought those things could wait. But now she wondered if waiting had become a habit that prevented her from experiencing the life she actually wanted. The following day, Olivia met Madison at a small park where they often walked together. She shared the news about the project opportunity. Madison listened carefully and smiled, telling Olivia that she should choose the path that made her feel fulfilled, not the one that simply looked impressive to others. Olivia appreciated that Madison never tried to influence her decision. Instead, she offered support and reminded her that a meaningful life was not measured only by achievements. Their conversation made Olivia realize something important. Madison was not asking her to choose between love and ambition. She was encouraging her to create a life where both could exist. Later that evening, Olivia visited her office and looked around at the designs she had created over the years. She felt proud of her accomplishments, but she also recognized that the person she was becoming mattered just as much as the career she had built. For so long, Olivia had protected herself from uncertainty because she believed uncertainty only brought disappointment. Madison had shown her another possibility. Sometimes uncertainty was where the most meaningful experiences began. Olivia still had decisions to make, and she still had fears to face. But one thing had become clear. The woman who entered her life unexpectedly had become someone who helped her understand herself in a way she never expected. Madison had not taken away Olivia's independence. She had helped Olivia discover that opening her heart could be another form of strength. The days following Olivia's conversation with Madison brought a sense of reflection that Olivia had never experienced before. She continued working on her projects, attending meetings, and managing her responsibilities, but her perspective had changed. The opportunity in another city remained on her mind, and she knew a decision would need to be made soon. In the past, Olivia would have immediately accepted the challenge because it represented progress and recognition. But now, she understood that success was not only about moving forward. Sometimes, it was about recognizing what truly mattered along the way. Madison noticed that Olivia seemed quieter than usual. One evening, they met at their favorite waterfront cafe, the same place where they had shared some of their most honest conversations. Madison asked if Olivia had made a decision about the project. Olivia admitted that she was still uncertain. She explained that a part of her wanted to accept the opportunity because it matched the future she had always imagined. But another part of her wondered if she was chasing a version of success that no longer felt complete. Madison listened and told her that uncertainty did not always mean someone was making the wrong choice. Sometimes, uncertainty appeared because a person was finally considering what they truly wanted instead of what they thought they should want. Olivia appreciated those words, but she also realized something else. She did not want Madison to think she was staying in Seattle only because of their connection. That was not who Olivia was. She wanted to make choices based on her own happiness, not because she was afraid of losing someone. When she shared that thought, Madison smiled and told her that was exactly why she admired Olivia. Madison never wanted to be the reason Olivia stopped growing. She wanted to see Olivia become the strongest and happiest version of herself. Their conversation reminded Olivia that a healthy connection was not about holding someone back. It was about encouraging each other to become better. Over the next week, Olivia began examining the project opportunity from a different perspective. She researched whether she could contribute remotely, whether there were other ways to expand her career, and whether she could create a future that included both professional growth and personal happiness. For the first time, she was not searching for a choice between two separate lives. She was looking for a way to bring the important parts of her life together. During a quiet evening walk through the city, Olivia and Madison stopped near a building Olivia had designed years earlier. Olivia explained that when she created the space, she wanted people to feel connected when they entered it. Madison pointed out that Olivia had spent her career creating places where people could belong, yet she had struggled to believe she deserved that same feeling in her own life. The observation touched Olivia deeply. She realized Madison had understood something about her that even she had not fully recognized. Later that night, Olivia looked through photographs Madison had taken during their time together. Each image captured moments Olivia would have once ignored. A simple walk, a quiet conversation, a shared laugh. These memories showed her that happiness was not always found in major achievements. Sometimes it existed in the small moments people allowed themselves to experience. Olivia still did not know what decision she would make about her career, but she finally understood that fear could no longer guide her choices. She had spent years protecting her heart from uncertainty, but Madison had shown her that uncertainty could also lead to something beautiful. For the first time, Olivia was ready to choose a future based not only on what she could achieve, but also on what she wanted to feel. Olivia spent the next several days thinking carefully about the future she wanted to create. For the first time in her life, she was not making a decision based only on expectations, achievements, or what others believed would define success. She was listening to herself. The realization felt unfamiliar, but it also brought a sense of peace she had not experienced in years. She began to understand that her connection with Madison was not a distraction from her goals. Instead, it had helped her see her goals with a clearer perspective. Madison had reminded her that a meaningful life was not built from accomplishments alone. It was built from the people, experiences, and memories that gave those accomplishments purpose. One afternoon, Olivia visited the office where she worked and reviewed the details of the new project opportunity. She looked at the plans, the schedule, and the possibilities ahead. In the past, she would have viewed the decision as simple. The bigger opportunity would have always been the obvious choice. But now she considered another question. Would this decision allow her to continue becoming the person she wanted to be? That question changed everything. Instead of thinking about what she might gain or lose, Olivia began thinking about balance. She wanted to continue growing as an architect, but she also wanted space in her life for relationships, friendships, and moments that brought genuine happiness. Later that week, Olivia met Madison at a quiet park where they often spent time together. The trees were beginning to change colors, and the peaceful atmosphere gave them a chance to talk without distractions. Olivia told Madison that she had spent years believing she needed to choose between success and happiness. She admitted that she was beginning to realize those things did not have to exist separately. Madison smiled and told her that she had always believed Olivia was capable of creating a life that included everything important to her. Olivia asked Madison how she always seemed so certain about following her own path. Madison laughed softly and explained that she was not always certain. She had experienced moments when she questioned herself and wondered if she was making the right choices. The difference was that she learned to trust the process instead of waiting for every answer before moving forward. Those words stayed with Olivia. She realized that she had spent years waiting until she felt completely prepared before allowing herself to experience new things. But life rarely offered perfect certainty. Sometimes people had to move forward while still learning. A few days later, Olivia made her decision about the project. She accepted the professional opportunity, but negotiated a plan that allowed her to remain connected to Seattle and continue building the life she valued. It was not the easiest solution, but it was the one that felt true to who she was becoming. When she shared the news with Madison, Madison was genuinely happy for her. There was no hesitation, no fear, and no expectation. Only support. That moment showed Olivia something important. Madison was not someone who wanted to claim her life or change her direction. Madison was someone who wanted to walk beside her while she followed her own dreams. As they watched the sunset near the waterfront, Olivia realized the greatest change was not the decision she had made about her career. The greatest change was that she finally trusted herself enough to make choices with an open heart. The woman who entered her life unexpectedly had not taken away the independence Olivia valued so deeply. She had shown Olivia that independence and connection could exist together. For the first time, Olivia no longer saw her heart as something that needed protection. She saw it as something worth sharing. After Olivia made her decision about the project, life entered a new rhythm. It was not always simple, and it required patience, but for the first time, Olivia felt like she was building a future that truly belonged to her. She continued, working as an architect, taking on new responsibilities while finding better ways to balance her professional goals with the personal connections that had become important to her. Madison remained a steady presence in her life, not because Olivia needed someone to complete her, but because their relationship added a new depth to the life she had already created. They continued discovering new places around Seattle, sharing quiet mornings at cafes, and finding inspiration in everyday moments. Olivia noticed that she had started seeing the city differently. Places that once felt like simple locations now carried memories. A park bench reminded her of conversations with Madison. A waterfront path reminded her of evenings spent talking about dreams and fears. Small details that she once overlooked had become reminders of how much her perspective had changed. One weekend, Madison invited Olivia to help prepare a new photography exhibition. This time, the experience felt different from the first gallery visit where they met. Back then, Olivia had been an observer standing outside Madison's world. Now, she was part of it. She helped organize photographs, listened to stories behind each image, and watched visitors connect with Madison's work. Seeing Madison share her creativity with others made Olivia realize how much she admired her. Madison had a way of making people feel noticed, and Olivia understood that quality was one of the reasons she had been drawn to her from the beginning. After the exhibition, they walked through the city together. Madison asked Olivia if she remembered their first conversation at the gallery. Olivia smiled and admitted that she thought about it often. She told Madison that she never expected a simple conversation about a photograph to change the way she looked at her own life. Madison laughed and said she never expected Olivia to return to the gallery that day. They both realized that their connection had grown from a small moment neither of them could have predicted. As they continued walking, Olivia reflected on how different she was from the person she had been months earlier. She was still ambitious. She still valued independence. She still enjoyed solving problems and creating new designs. But she no longer believed that being strong meant keeping everyone at a distance. She had learned that allowing someone to understand her did not make her less capable. It made her more complete. Later that evening, Olivia and Madison sat near the waterfront watching the lights across the city. Olivia shared that she used to think love was something that interrupted a carefully planned life. Madison asked if she still believed that. Olivia looked at her and smiled. She said she now believed the right connection did not interrupt life. It helped people discover what life was truly meant to include. Madison's presence had challenged Olivia's beliefs, but more importantly, it had helped her understand herself. The woman who entered her life unexpectedly had become someone who inspired her, supported her, and reminded her that a heart could be both independent and open. Olivia knew there were still many chapters ahead, but she was no longer afraid of what they might bring. She had learned that the most meaningful changes often began with the smallest, unexpected moments. Months passed, and Olivia found herself living a life she once believed was impossible. She had always imagined that personal growth required major changes, dramatic decisions, or leaving behind everything familiar. Instead, she discovered that transformation often happened quietly through daily choices, honest conversations, and the willingness to see things from a new perspective. Her career continued to grow as she worked on meaningful architecture projects in Seattle. She became known not only for her creativity, but also for the way she designed spaces that encouraged connection and comfort. Her colleagues noticed that Olivia seemed different. She was still focused and determined, but there was a warmth in her that had not been there before. She smiled more often, shared ideas more openly, and no longer carried the pressure of proving that she could handle everything alone. Madison remained an important part of this new chapter. Their relationship continued to grow naturally through shared experiences rather than expectations. They learned about each other's habits, dreams, and small preferences that made everyday moments special. Olivia discovered that the strongest connections were not created through perfect moments, but through the simple act of choosing to be present for someone. One evening, Madison invited Olivia to a photography project outside the city. She wanted to capture the changing seasons in a quiet mountain town a few hours from Seattle. Olivia agreed immediately, something that surprised her because she remembered how she once avoided anything that interrupted her schedule. The trip became one of the most memorable experiences they had shared. They walked through peaceful streets, visited local shops, and admired landscapes that seemed completely different from the busy city environment Olivia knew so well. Madison photographed the scenery while Olivia found herself enjoying the slower pace. During the trip, Olivia admitted that she never expected her life to change in this way. She told Madison that before meeting her, she believed happiness would come after reaching certain goals. She thought there would always be another achievement to complete before she could finally relax and appreciate what she had. Madison replied that many people spend their lives preparing for a future they forget to experience the present. Olivia smiled because she knew Madison was right. She had spent years building a successful career, but she had not always allowed herself to enjoy the journey. That night, while sitting outside their small cabin and watching the stars above the quiet landscape, Olivia reflected on everything that had changed. She realized Madison had never asked her to become someone different. She had simply helped Olivia remember the person she had always been beneath the expectations and responsibilities she carried. When they returned to Seattle, Olivia brought more than photographs and memories from the trip. She brought a deeper understanding of what she wanted her life to represent. She wanted success, but she also wanted connection. She wanted independence, but she also wanted companionship. She wanted a future that included both ambition and happiness. As Olivia continued building her life, she understood that Madison had become someone who did not limit her dreams. Madison inspired her to dream bigger. The woman who once seemed like an unexpected interruption had become one of the most meaningful parts of Olivia's journey. And for the first time, Olivia was not afraid of what the future might bring. She was excited to discover it. As time passed, Olivia and Madison continued building a relationship based on understanding, patience, and the simple moments that made their connection meaningful. Olivia had once believed that important relationships needed dramatic changes or extraordinary circumstances to become significant. Now she understood that the strongest bonds were often created through ordinary days shared with someone who truly understood you. Their lives continued moving forward, each woman following her own dreams while supporting the other along the way. Olivia became more confident in expressing her thoughts and emotions. She no longer felt the need to hide uncertainty behind perfection or pretend that she always had every answer. Madison had shown her that honesty was not a weakness. It was a way of creating deeper connections with the people who mattered. At the same time, Olivia noticed how much she had influenced Madison as well. Madison was naturally creative and followed her instincts, but Olivia encouraged her to believe in the value of her work and the impact her photography had on others. They balanced each other in ways neither of them expected when they first met. One afternoon, Madison received an invitation to display her photography collection at a larger exhibition in another city. It was a major opportunity for her career, and Olivia immediately encouraged her to accept it. Madison hesitated because she worried that being away for several weeks might create distance between them. Olivia smiled and reminded her of something Madison had taught her months earlier. A meaningful connection should never prevent someone from becoming the person they are meant to be. Madison realized that Olivia was right. The same support she had given Olivia was now being returned to her. They both understood that love was not about staying in the same place forever. It was about growing individually while continuing to choose each other. During the weeks before Madison left for the exhibition, they spent as much time together as possible. They visited familiar places that had become important memories, including the waterfront where they had shared some of their first honest conversations. Olivia brought her camera and asked Madison to take a photograph of them together. Madison laughed because Olivia had once avoided being in front of the camera. Olivia admitted that she was no longer afraid of being seen. She had spent years hiding behind achievements and responsibilities, but now she understood that being known by someone was a beautiful experience. When Madison left for the exhibition, Olivia returned to her normal routine, but everything felt different. She missed their conversations and the small moments they shared, but she also felt proud. Instead of feeling afraid of distance, Olivia felt grateful that they had created something strong enough to grow beyond physical space. During their time apart, they continued sharing stories, photographs, and thoughts about their days. Madison sent pictures from the exhibition, and Olivia shared updates about her newest architecture project. Their connection remained steady because it was built on more than constant presence. It was built on trust. When Madison returned to Seattle, Olivia met her at the waterfront where their journey had changed direction months earlier. They talked about everything they had experienced and everything they had learned. Olivia realized that the person who entered her life unexpectedly had become the person who helped her discover a more complete version of herself. Madison had not changed Olivia by giving her something she lacked. She had changed Olivia by helping her recognize what was already inside her. And Olivia knew that the heart she once protected so carefully was now a heart that had learned how to truly connect. After Madison returned to Seattle, Olivia noticed that their relationship had reached a new level of understanding. They were no longer simply two people discovering something unexpected. They had become two individuals who supported each other's dreams while continuing to grow as themselves. Olivia often thought about how different her life felt compared to the person she had been when they first met. She remembered the woman who believed every part of life needed to be carefully planned and controlled. She remembered how she avoided uncertainty because she thought it was safer to stay within the boundaries she created for herself. Now, she understood that some of the most meaningful moments in life came from experiences she never could have predicted. One evening, Olivia and Madison visited the same waterfront location where they had spent countless hours talking about their hopes and fears. The city lights reflected across the water, creating a peaceful atmosphere that reminded them of how far they had come. Madison asked Olivia if she ever imagined her life would change so much after one conversation at an art gallery. Olivia smiled and admitted that she would never have believed it. She said that before meeting Madison, she thought people changed because of major events or important decisions. But she had learned that sometimes a person could change simply because someone else helped them see themselves more clearly. Madison told Olivia that she felt the same way. Before they met, Madison had always followed her creativity, but she sometimes wondered if her work truly mattered. Olivia had helped her recognize that her photographs were more than images. They were stories that allowed people to feel connected. Hearing this made Olivia realize that their journey had never been one person saving another. They had simply encouraged each other to become more confident, more open, and more comfortable with who they were. As the months continued, Olivia and Madison created new memories together while continuing their individual careers. Olivia worked on innovative architecture projects that reflected her new belief that spaces should inspire connection. Madison expanded her photography work and began sharing stories from communities she visited. Both women continued growing, but they always found ways to remain part of each other's lives. One weekend, Olivia returned to the gallery where she had first met Madison. She walked through the familiar rooms and looked at the photographs displayed on the walls. She remembered how she once viewed those images as beautiful but distant. Now she understood the emotions behind them because she had become part of the story herself. Madison joined her and asked what she was thinking. Olivia looked around the gallery and said she was thinking about how one unexpected moment could completely change the direction of someone's life. Madison smiled and said that sometimes people spend years searching for something without realizing it will arrive when they least expect it. Olivia agreed. She had spent years protecting herself from disappointment, but she had also protected herself from experiencing something wonderful. Madison had entered her life without promises or expectations, and somehow became the person who helped Olivia understand what she truly valued. As they left the gallery together, Olivia felt grateful for the journey that brought them there. She knew life would continue bringing challenges and changes, but she no longer feared them. She had learned that the heart was not meant to remain untouched. It was meant to experience, to grow, and to create connections that made life more meaningful. Years after the day Olivia first met Madison at the waterfront gallery, she often found herself thinking about how a single unexpected moment could completely change the direction of a life. The woman who once believed that everything needed to be planned had learned that some of the most beautiful experiences came from allowing life to unfold naturally. Olivia continued building her career as an architect in Seattle, creating spaces that reflected her deeper understanding of connection and belonging. Her designs became more personal because she no longer viewed buildings as only structures. She saw them as places where people created memories, shared important moments, and felt connected to the world around them. Madison continued her photography journey, capturing stories from different communities and turning ordinary moments into meaningful memories. Together, they supported each other's dreams while continuing to grow as individuals. Their relationship was not defined by perfection. They experienced busy schedules, unexpected challenges, and moments when they needed to adjust their plans. But they always returned to the same foundation that brought them together from the beginning: honesty, respect, and the willingness to understand each other. One morning, Olivia and Madison returned to the small waterfront gallery where they first met. The place looked almost the same, but Olivia felt completely different walking through those doors. She remembered the person she had been that day. She remembered someone who was successful, but unsure why happiness still felt distant. She remembered someone who had spent years protecting her heart because she believed independence meant never needing anyone else. Looking around the gallery, Olivia realized how much had changed. Madison walked beside her, holding her camera and smiling as she looked at the photographs displayed on the walls. Olivia told her that she still remembered their first conversation about a simple photograph. Madison laughed and said she remembered Olivia standing there with a serious expression, analyzing every detail. Olivia smiled because she knew it was true. She had always searched for explanations, but Madison had taught her that some things were not meant to be solved. Some things were meant to be experienced. As they walked outside toward the waterfront, Olivia reflected on everything she had learned. She had discovered that opening her heart did not make her weaker. It made her more aware, more compassionate, and more connected to the people around her. She had discovered that love was not about losing herself in another person. It was about finding someone who encouraged her to become more fully herself. Madison looked at Olivia and asked if she ever imagined that their first meeting would lead them here. Olivia smiled and said no. She never could have predicted it, but she was grateful she allowed herself to take a chance on something unexpected. The two women stood together watching the water move gently beneath the morning light. It was a simple moment, but Olivia understood that simple moments were often the ones people remembered forever. The journey had started with a conversation between two strangers, but it became something much deeper. Madison had entered Olivia's life unexpectedly and changed the way she viewed herself, her dreams, and her future. Olivia no longer believed that the heart was something to guard away from the world. She believed it was something to experience, something to share, and something that could lead people toward the life they were always meant to discover.